Hi, friends. In our time together today, I want to talk about playing our whistle in tune. I mean, that sounds really easy, doesn't it? Like, of course, I just set my whistle to tune and every note's in tune. Well, no. Interestingly, you know every whistle is different. We've said that. And if you own more than one whistle, you know every whistle is different. And there are so many factors about each whistle that makes them different. But today, I just want to talk about one of them, playing it in tune. This is a bit of a challenge from the bottom to the top, but it's something we can each learn to do with just a little work, a little attention, and a little practice. Even if you play at home by yourself, like I often do, it's important to learn to play in tune because learning to play in tune will train your ears so that you could hear notes better, and you and anybody else in the house, because there's always somebody at home, right? Well, not always, but everybody else in the house is going to enjoy the experience more. You're going to like it more because you're going to sound better even to yourself. Now, one of the reasons there's variation between the upper and the lower octave is air pressure is required in your whistle, and I've got my Howard low D here. Air pressure is required to make the notes, and whistles are sets of compromises to get things to play in a particular way. The whole size, the whole distance, distances in the head, all kinds of factors go in, and we're not talking about that today. But, and I've got a tuner open on my iPad. You can get a professional tuner, for close enough is good enough in some of this stuff. I like a tuner that shows me like that in tune range. In tune is not like this 100% spot on miracle spot. In tune is a particular range of acceptability. So open a tuner. I'm using, I think it's called Tuner Lite. You could go to a web browser and type in online tuner, and it'll give you a tuner, and that's pretty good. Now, I'm gonna say in a bit that this does not just apply to tunable whistles. I'll tell you why when we get there. So you would think that changing the tune, so this is a piece of pipe, and the shorter the piece, the higher the note, the longer the piece, the lower the note. And now that doesn't mean that you move big instruments just to get big increments to get a little change. Move little increments to get a moderate change. I love on the Howard, see if I can show that to you. Maybe we can't. Okay. I gotta get a better camera set up for this. On the Howard, there is a center line, and then there are degrees of separation from that below and degrees of separation above. The degrees of separation above increase the length of the tube, thus make the note lower, and if you go one little bit down, that makes it higher. And Howard has put a center line where they say this should be about in tune. But that doesn't mean that you're going to automatically play in tune. Remember, air pressure, the air pressure you apply has a good bit to do with that as well. So when you're learning to play your whistle, you're learning how much air pressure this whistle wants to play in tune. And it's possible, some whistles more than others, that the amount of air pressure it takes in the lower octave is different than the upper octave. I even had one of our friends, thank you very much, tell me, if you tune your MK Pro just a smidge flat in the lower octave, acceptable smidge, then when you really get after it and push it hard in the second octave, it won't go sharp. So I think what you heard there is if you're playing very gently, sometimes you go flat. If you're really blowing hard, you could go sharp. And, well, that's sort of true because there are some notes where the whistle wants you to push really hard. Some of these whistles require that. Anyway, enough stage setting. It's time I'm going to first play my Howard, and I'll show you some breath pressure and some differences between the octaves. But the Howard's really pretty good about that. So anyway, I'm going to play the Howard and pay attention to the tuner. And this is a time when playing fast is really not going to help. You have to play slow enough for the tuner to catch it, and slowly enough for you to be able to adjust your air pressure just a little. If I play really, really gently, that gently, I'm a little flat. So I have to push a little more air in. Interestingly, as you're doing this, back off on the air pressure and increase it, and watch that little gauge start jumping up and down. Learn how to play each note pretty close to in tune. The second octave. Okay, for me, the second octave A and B were just a hair sharp. I could, if I'm going to do a lot of second octave work, I could move my head up one of those little notches. Howard's the only one who does this that I know of, put those tuning notches there. Variable, okay, I didn't mean this to turn into a Howard commercial. Who else gives you different heads for different types of playing and tuning marks? I mean, really, come on. So I could adjust that, and when you adjust your whistle, make sure that the holes are in line with that airway. Okay, so now I'm going to put it back where it was, just because that's where I like to play. Anyway, you know, one of my old music teachers from way back in the day, when I played well enough to finally hear this, my music teacher said to me, play on top of the notes. Now, he didn't mean stand on them or anything like that. What he meant was come into the note with enough pressure that you're going to be really doing well in tune. You're coming into each note really thinking and hearing and listening to the notes. You're not coming in timidly. You're coming into the note with the intent to play it well. But you know, like some whistles are designed to play more quietly than others, and some whistles you can play a different range. I find a good range on the Howard. I'm going to jump to the MK Pro, and you can see I've got my tuning slide out some. Let's see how it is. Now, I need to add, don't go through this exercise with an instrument you've not yet warmed up, because it plays a little differently after you've warmed it up. So warm your instrument up first. And I did that with these before we started. Just a quick experiment on the MK Pro. If I use about the same pressure as the Howard, MK Pro wants more air to play in tune. See? You'd think these were the same thing, but they're not. I'm going to really have to push that A on the second octave to get it not go flat. See, this, the second octave B went a little sharp. And that's, again, why a friend recommended I pull that out just a bit. I've got to push the lower octave to bring it into tune better, but then I get a better balance of volume between the lower and the higher octave. So a lot of this means experiment. Back to my Howard for a moment. So I'm going to play a G lower octave. Listen, as you're playing, I was a smidge, but acceptably flat there. That's okay. Pay attention. Move the whistle around in your mouth. A lot of places it's not going to make any difference at all. There are some places it will make a difference, so avoid those. Pay attention to where in your mouth, how holding your whistle, it's gonna play even better. And I, as I've recommended before, you don't have to play with your whistle just at a specific angle. It's more about a clean airway and not constricting your airflow. Also experiment with how you're holding your drum. And you'll notice that it really doesn't make much of a difference at all. So those of us who are historic woodwind players, there are odd occasions when I find the embouchure helps a bit, but not all the time. My high D, Wild Irish, it doesn't want me to push much at all in that low D. And again, different whistles. Some whistles can play a lot louder in the upper and not as loud in the lower octave. I'm going to tune that out a bit. Remember, when you're tuning, make sure your holes are lined up. Okay. Yeah, that needed to come out just a hair. I'm glad I did this. See that? Second octave B wants to go a little flat. So figure out how to do that. How about if I do hold my mouth differently? Nope, doesn't help at all. Anyway, try this out with each of your whistles. This is the Kerry Optima, the fixed head. And remember, I said I wanted to talk about doing this with a fixed head whistle as well. So the reason I say you could do this with a fixed head whistle, there are two reasons. One is the air pressure required. So in doing that, I'm learning the volume and the air pressure I can get away with. Remember, there's a range of volume you can play in tune. Every whistle's different. All right, that's about the low end of in tune. I can't play softer without going flat. See that volume difference there? I've just taught myself that I can use that whole range of volume and be in tune. That's a good thing to know. Now, So what you could do is you're learning the volume and the air pressure required to play in tune. Now, the other thing you could do is, like, the folks at Kerry Whistles sell a replacement for the head. That means you can loosen this. Now, I have done that on some whistles, loosened a fixed plastic head because they're normally just glued on, but you've got to be really careful not to break it. And I won't go into that route in today's video. I just wanted to let us know how important it is to learn to play our whistle in tune because, one, you're teaching yourself the volume range at which you can play each of the notes on your whistle, or at least your whole whistle, or at least the lower and upper octaves, in tune. You know, don't play softer than this or you'll be flat. Don't play louder than this or you'll be sharp. Then you're also helping refine where to move your tuning slide so that you play in the tune you want. If you're playing a tune that is really a hammering, I'm just beating that second octave, you might want to draw your whistle a hair flat. Put a little mark there if you're going to do it in public because you want another mark for when you play that slow air and you need to play the lower octave better in tune rather than a little flat. So anyway, I want us to know that it's important. We're better musicians when we learn to play our whistles in tune. We're better musicians when we learn the range of volume where we can play our whistles in tune. We're better musicians when we learn the tuning difference between the lower and the second octave. Do this for all your whistles. Make it a game. I hope that's helpful, my friends. Until next time, this is Scott Shade. Happy low D whistling. Well, and high D too.